hottest paranormal life show on YouTube, Into the Fringe, where we discuss lost civilizations, UFOs, cryptids, unsolved mysteries, megalithic structures, extraterrestrials, interdimensional portals, time skips, and more. Don't change that channel, because now you are leaving the mainstream and entering into the fringe.
Well, greetings, followers. It is I, Cardinal Sin, and welcome to another episode of Into the Fringe. And tonight, our guest is the one and only Walter Bosley. Walter Bosley is an investigator of historical occult mysteries, author of pulp fiction novels, a screenwriter, and has appeared on History Channel's Ancient Aliens. After 20 years in national security, Walter Bosley runs his small press publishing company, Lost Continent Library, founded in 2002. Bosley has traveled much of the world and has been a publisher and author for 2 decades. Bosley spends his time writing fiction and nonfiction, as well as investigating strange mysteries. The latest news about Bosley's projects and books can be found at lostcontinentlibrary.com. And with no further ado, welcome back, my friend, to Into the Fringe, Walter Bosley.
Hey, I'm back. Thanks for having me back. It's always good to be here.
It's always good to have you back. And I just discovered a little error here, just a little clerical error I forgot to fix, or I fixed and the YouTube decided they wanted it another way. This is episode 101, not 121. Can you hear me okay, Walter?
I can hear you fine.
Okay.
5 by 5.
For some reason I'm having a hard time hearing myself, but check. I guess if you can hear me, that's all that's important. And let's go ahead and check the chat real quick to see if anybody's saying I can't hear you. And Canadian Spider-Man is here. Hail. Don McDouglas is here. He's already anticipating winning tonight's prizes. And Radioactive is here. Hail. And I just wanted to begin, as people are rolling in, I wanted to mention that about an hour and 20 minutes in, the mods will put the URL in the chat for you to follow to have your name put on the spinner wheel. Our giveaway tonight will be 3 Into the Fringe pint glasses from gillstore.com. That is 3 separate winners for 1 glass each. Make sure to stick around until the end of the show, and remember, you must be in the chat to be eligible to win. And I also wanted to share, where is it? There we go. And the Cardinal Sin Patreon page is up and running at patreon.com/GilBavel. And I've completed my YouTube channel membership levels along with custom loyalty badges. So please feel free to join. There are lots of different tiers with different incentives and cool rewards. So please check out both my Patreon and channel membership levels. And as you can see, there are quite a few here. The first 90 people that join at the Unseen Mysteries level will receive a very spiffy bullion Cardinal Sin coin. So that's a good reason to get in there for that. And, just join the Cardinal Sin Patreon community and hang out with like-minded geeks and weirdos. And you should sign up now because I think those bullion coins are going to go fast. And once they're gone, they're gone. And before I forget, next week we'll host Albert Rosales on humanoid encounters in 2022. And on the 30th, our guest will be Paul Askoff, who is the author of UFOs, The Real Story. Now, to get serious for a second, again, as people are rolling in, according to my analytics, over 60% of the people that watch my content aren't subscribed to this channel. Please subscribe. It makes a big difference. And as Canadian Spider-Man says, it's free. It costs you nothing. So please make sure that you're subscribed or Canadian Spider-Man will beat me up. And you'll save a puppy. Okay, let's go ahead and do our Tiki pour up. And this is Tiki versus Tiki. Let's see which one wins, or we can judge on cool points. So I will stop sharing that. And Walter, as always, I think you go first.
Okay. I've got Ash.
Slashy Ashy.
Slashy Ashy. Right there.
Well, does he beat MODOK?
Oh, no, he can't. He can't.
Or,
you're breaking out the big players. Okay.
Should I use the bone-colored MODOK?
Oh.
Or I've already decided I'm going to use the Raiders of the Lost Ark looking golden MODOK.
Oh, nice. The golden MODOK. I'm gonna break out my big player next time.
I hope so.
Yeah.
Although that's a pretty cool one.
Oh, well, yeah, you can't go wrong with Ash. Oh.
So I am going to put in some delicious Canada Dry ginger ale.
I have some coconut water.
I drink that stuff all the time. Suddenly I have to go to the bathroom.
You just read my mind. Sounds like a couple of guys peeing. You know where, when I was a kid, I used to get stage fright, so to speak, when we'd go to Dodger Stadium, or any stadium, but I remember it as Dodger Stadium. And they have, in the men's restrooms, they just have those urinal troughs, so you're just standing there openly. And, I mean, it's even less of the illusion of privacy than...
Swinging freely is what they call that.
Yeah, and I'd have to go pee real bad, but then when I'm standing up there, I'm a kid, I'm standing up there, and I'm like, suddenly I don't have to go, and I look like the guy who's just standing there to see things. And,
pee fright. It's worse than stage fright, because you always have to pee. You don't always have to be on stage.
That's true.
And let's see who else is here. I love all the channel members we have here. That's awesome. Jeff Fletcher is in the house. Darius Munchausen is here. And hail to you all. And Canadian Spider-Man says, I love coconut water too, guys. Luckily, we have a cocoa lady driving around on a bike selling coconuts and their products. British Columbia needs folks like that here. So that sounds to me like he's back. But he's been in Mexico for, aside from 10 days, for like 5 months or something.
Oh, wow.
I don't know. But it's good that he gets to travel. Now, Walter, on this show, we're kind of going to hop around to disparate subjects relating to your books, occult history knowledge, and Lost Continent Library. So get ready to kind of veer into questions on several subjects. And I wanted to say that I caught your fascinating live stream with Richard Spence, your co-author, on the first Empire of the Wheel book. That would be this one here.
Indeed.
What did the rest of us miss? And how did you get hooked up to collaborate with him? And how did that process work?
Well, when I was in the research phase, I think this was 2008. 2008, maybe early 2009. Could have been '09 now that I think about it. The book Secret Agent 666 about Aleister Crowley and his interesting excursion through the United States in 1915 became really prominent in my research for a while. And so I contacted Rick and just wanted to get more insight, more info. And he really took to, what I was telling him about this mystery. And, excuse me. And he started sending me so much good stuff additionally that this went on for months, that I realized, hey, wait a minute. I think I could probably use his expertise and his knowledge on really bringing this weird story, Empire of the Wheel, to a book. So, as a matter of fact, I can tell you exactly when I asked him to write a book with me. It was in early 2010, because 2009 he had been sending me the stuff. I had been doing the research. In December, I was supposed to go take a gig working in Afghanistan for a year.
I was going to say working for Afghanistan?
No, working in Afghanistan for a year, and it was going to be a lot of money, and the weirdest thing happened, which that's a story I'll have to tell another time, and I ended up not going. And there was an incident connected to that occurred subsequent to my not going, and that was the incident that convinced me, okay, I'm supposed to stay here and do something with this research I'd been doing for 2 years, which, by the way, up until that point, I hadn't seriously thought about doing a book. I thought I was just on this personal journey of this weird mystery. Mm-hmm. And because of all that, I decided in early 2010, January, I think it was, that, you know what, I think this is supposed to be a book. And it was around that time that I approached Rick and said, hey, I need to put this in a book. Would you like to join me on this project? And he said, yeah, sure. And so there you have it, Empire of the Wheel Volume 1. And by the way, Rick and I have only been in each other's presence one time, and that, interestingly enough, was at Glacier National Park in Montana at the Canadian border.
That's where a big hotspot for the 411 missing.
Oh, yeah, and UFOs and Nazi lore and all sorts of wild stuff. But wow. He lives in Idaho, and he and his wife and son were vacationing. And when I found out I was going to be going up there to be on a TV show on the Travel Channel, we decided to meet up. That's the only time we've ever met up face to face. And we've done audio. We've been interviewed on the same audio show, like radio shows and stuff. But the other day was the first time that he had been on mine, which we need to have a first time on my show and have you on very soon, by the way. And I want to talk to you about that later. I stand
ready to serve, sir.
We need to do that. But that's how the Rick thing happened. And I'm always glad that I did that, because he really brought the scholarly gravitas to the whole thing. As well as great information, just incredible information.
Maybe the question I should have asked is, how did you meet, and how did your collaboration on these, esoteric ideas begin?
Literally, I contacted him because of the Secret Agent 666 book. I just looked up a contact for him and sent him an email. And then we got on the phone, and that was it, was contacting him. Yeah, and it went really well. I heard him say on an interview, probably about a year after within the year after finishing the book, he was on another interview. And just as he and I had talked about, he hadn't put much stock into the phenomenon of synchronicity until he worked on the book with me. The whole Hecate thing really caught his attention in a deep way. And so to that extent, the experience of writing Empire of the Wheel for him was illuminating but he's someone who's kind of, was kind of interested in the arcane to begin with. Otherwise, I don't think he would have, put his name to the book, because he was still a professor at the University of Idaho at that time. He hadn't retired yet. And so, we worked really well. Like I said, it was a lot of phone calls, a lot of emails, and, it went very well.
Cool. And before I forget, I just wanted to show folks what is on tap, so to speak, for our winners. We have the Mike Barra commemorative Into the Fringe pint glass with Overlord DVD, otherwise known as Doomcock, Gary Ambrosia and Mike Barra.
Cool.
And we also have our 100th episode pint glass. Says I was at the 100th episode celebration with Cardinal Sin. And we even have Midnight to Midnight. That's a lot of people's favorite. And it's a cardinal thing you wouldn't understand, which I think is kind of cool. And these are, of course, priced pennies above cost. So if you're getting a hankering for some Cardinal Sin merch, just go to gillstore.org, not com, despite what Stream Elements might say, and load up. They make great Christmas presents. We got to be thinking very forward toward Christmas 2023, because if you spread your gift purchases out throughout the year, then it doesn't hurt in the pocketbook so much, right?
It's true.
Okay, now, until recently, Walter, you were loath to have anything to do with Amazon.com.
That's right.
Now, I understand that your books are available on Amazon.com and BarnesandNoble.com. What predicated the change in your animus for Amazon into selling your books there? And is Lulu.com still a way to get your books? What's the story?
First of all, they are still printed and distributed via Lulu's mechanism. They are available at Lulu.com when you go there. But now what I've done is I've accepted I've engaged in their program where distribution is also expanded to Amazon and BarnesandNoble.com. What they did was they made some little changes where one of the problems before was that if you took that distribution option, they were driving your sales to the Amazon page, right? Mm-hmm. And you get the smallest amount on the profit cut, on the royalty. Whereas now they're not doing that like they used to. So it doesn't undercut my Lulu page. I push as far as the direct link on my website and stuff like that, it's going to take you directly to the sales page. So it's one of those things where, I wanted to expand my reach. So it was worth it to me to make it also available, because, you're going to have a lot of people that are just there. People, God bless them, can be lazy. They want the easy click. And you got people, no matter how many times you tell them, they're just going to go to Amazon.com, and they're not going to go anywhere else. So I thought, well, why not be there? Now, another thing I think that also was instrumental in pushing me over the edge was I realized that there were a few people that were buying copies of my books, and then they were putting them on Amazon themselves. They technically had to be used books, but it was because I did not have a presence at Amazon. They were selling my books for a lot more expensive than you can get them buying directly from me. So I think if they haven't figured it out already, they're in for a little surprise, because when you go to Amazon, it's a process. I've got 8 titles up now. I got 4 more coming any day. And but if you go to Amazon.com and look up my books, you're going to see that the least expensive option by far is a brand new copy. Coming from from me, a brand new copy is cheaper than the other copies and the used copies, which is rare. Right. Usually the used copies, but that's what people were doing, is they were pricing them high because they know some people will just go to Amazon. So they were kind of hoping, well, we'll make more money off these than Walter is at Lulu. So that was part of it. I decided, I probably should, cover things and have a presence there, because again, I can offer you new books for the cheapest price less. That you'll find them. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Because after all, they are your books.
Mm-hmm.
So you can
either that, or they're ones that I'm the publisher, that I'm certainly contracted with the author, and they should be getting, brand spanking new, official copies.
Yeah. Absolutely. Let me get ready here.
I do want to say, when it comes to giveaway time, I don't want to forget this. I owe one of the winners a shirt. What happened was I had to order that one in the right size because I had made a mistake and thought I had his size. So the gentleman south of me, in the general direction of San Diego, who's waiting for his shirt, I finally received it, and that should be in the mail soon.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah. That was the last time I was here, so I didn't want him to think I had forgotten.
Okay, so believe it or not, this does have to do with my next question here.
Mm-hmm.
So we're going to share that screen. If I can find it. There it is. Okay, so Walter, next question. Recently, there's been a new discovery of a massive void inside the Great Pyramid of Giza.
Mm-hmm.
The room, sealed when the pyramid was completed some 4,500 years ago, according to mainstream archaeology, is of unknown purpose, though some have speculated it could be a secret burial chamber of the pharaoh Khufu, who ordered the pyramid to be built. What's your take?
Khufu, who ordered the pyramid to be built. Well, I think we all know what I think about that. That's your typical Colonel Vice Howard, whatever you call it, Egyptology bullshit. Yeah, Khufu did not order that Great Pyramid to be built, people. As a matter of fact, Joseph Farrell has, I think, blogged recently and posted some other things, and other evidence has come out. That's pretty much proven that Howard Vice, I think was his name, some combination thereof, it looks like he apparently forged the Khufu. There you go. I published that book now, Giza Death Star.
Yep, that's where I got it.
Yeah, and, Khufu did not order that pyramid to be built. That pyramid, the Great Pyramid, is far older than the others. It was not ordered by an Egyptian pharaoh to be a tomb. And I think what we need is to just keep laughing at that every time it's, thrown our way, because it's time to throw that crap out. And I know there's going to be people out there saying, well, Bosley, the Egyptologists say, well, that's like, priests also tell you that you got to believe in their given religion, or, you're going to be damned to hell forever. And they're the source of that. idea. So, come on. The Egyptologists, like a lot of your average IT office IT guys, they're only gonna tell you enough, to protect their job security, okay, and keep you in the dark.
Lose their grant money.
Yeah, Egyptologists are the same way. They wanna justify their existence. Anyway, it was a machine. I'm convinced that's my personal position, and I think that chamber has something to do with manifesting whatever the machine was used to manifest, be that energy or something else.
Because as we know, spoiler warning, from these 3 wonderful books, and I have to say, Walter, these are the definitive editions in my opinion. These are beautiful, beautiful books, inside and out. And now I just have to get them signed by Dr. Farrell.
We're working, just like we're working on getting him here on Into the Fringe.
Yeah, we
will work on that, getting those autographed.
Absolutely. And in those books, it basically mentions that the Great Pyramid of Giza was some sort of a weapon, and what's left is sort of like the empty shell, the empty casing, right?
Yeah, basically, yeah. The operative equipment was removed. This is the hypothesis, and he's really in the new one. AUP, Adventures Unlimited Press, David Childress's company, was the original publishers of the Giza Death Star trilogy, and they continue to publish Joseph's new books. I have the trilogy. And in the Giza Death Star Revisited, okay, Dr. Farrell...
Is that a 4th one in the series?
It is a 4th one. And you can get that now at AUP, Adventures Unlimited Press. If you go there, they're online. You can order it, and you'll get it like in a week or less. Cool. But in that book, he reveals really an astonishing possibility for the Great Pyramid. And I don't want to spoil it for any readers, because he doesn't just flat out say it. He makes it. Let me tell you something about Dr. Farrell. He makes you dig things out, and there's a reason for that. It makes you better. It makes you understand more deeply what it is you're digging out. But in a nutshell, basically, it's that there were what's the word? Interdimensional aspects of what the Great Pyramid could do. And I feel okay revealing that much, because if you go back to the interview I did with Dr. Farrell on my show, specifically the Trans-Temporal Warfare episode with Seshari and our panel, we pretty much discussed that. We discussed the possibility. I asked him if the Great Pyramid, within the context of his hypothesis, could have been used across space and time. In ancient times, could it have been the cause of what happened at Tunguska in 1908? Mm-hmm. And he said, yes. Within the context of the hypothesis, yes, that it could have. I find that far more interesting than the idea of what's popular in our community. A UFO crashed. No, at Tunguska.
Oh yeah,
in 1908. I'm sorry, but the UFO crash explanation has become as ridiculously. Is ubiquitous the word?
Ridiculously ubiquitous. Say that 5 times fast with
as ridiculously ubiquitous as when archaeologists can't explain a structure, so they say it was a temple, right? I mean, when people in our community, particularly UFO land, don't really have a good
Teotihuacan. It's all aliens.
Well, yeah, I don't mean those guys in that. What I'm talking about is when people don't have a good explanation for something like a Tunguska, it's a UFO crashed, and they expect us all to take that seriously.
Right.
But I'm in the school of thought that, my God, they can traverse the stars and cross galaxies, but they can't not crash on our planet. This idea of all these crashes, it was ridiculous to begin with. But you got people like, big names that are keep, pushing that idea.
Richard Dolan, maybe?
It rhymes with Richard Dolan. Yeah.
Freckled Joy is in the house and says, "Hey, Walter."
Hey, Freckled Joy. How are you doing?
Glad to see you here. How is the pre-production on your series coming along? Can you give us any updates, or would you have to kill us?
Just had a meeting yesterday, a Zoom meeting with our producer, Melissa Tittle, who is the head of her company, Hathor Studios.
Oh, cool.
And I got to say, she is making the festival rounds with her recent film, Code 12, which I am in.
Also, Seshari is in.
No, Seshari, no, he contributed to another one, something called UFO Witness, that she's doing. And but if you go check out the trailer for Code 12, Melissa, she kind of stars in it, so to speak, because it's her journey. And I'm in a couple of scenes in the trailer, and she's winning awards at festivals for audience favorite, best film, and stuff. So she's having great success with that. And we had there is a major network that you've heard of that does nonfiction stuff, who are diligently moving towards production on the documentary nonfiction aspects of Empire of the Wheel research. And that's going very slowly, but very well. So Melissa right now is focusing now on the the Empire of the Wheel dramatic series. We just had a meeting with our Go Chase the Money guy, and he has set up meetings with the want to throw money at a media project guys. And, so something exciting could be happening with that real soon with the dramatic series. I don't know if I'm allowed to say it right now, but like I said, major actor and a major director producer. I think I might have told you privately, but we can't say it on air.
I've heard of it, but that's
the
way to get your screen.
Yeah, a major actor 2 summers ago was attached to it and wanted to even produce it through his company. He chose to do another movie, which I think got some type of nomination, and a huge director producer has had interest in it for really over almost a couple of years, and they haven't really said no yet. But let's just say, it's a guy who is doing a big biopic that might be of interest to people who like my books. And I'll leave it at that. We'll go on to the next question.
Fair enough. Next question. What is your considered opinion about the real Aleister Crowley? Was he a secret agent for the British Crown in World War II? Have you considered a standalone book about this misunderstood man and setting the record straight as you've done with Napoleon? After all, Crowley had such a major impact on the occult that many rituals that he created are still in use today by those that practice Thelema and other ritual magic.
Whether he was an agent during World War II is pretty much generally agreed to be questionable. World War I, definitely. He was willing during the reason there's murkiness about World War II is he was very willing. He made himself available, but there's apparently, so far, there's been no evidence that he was an agent, an active, connected agent during World War II. But World War I, definitely. Funny thing is, he hasn't grabbed my interest deeply enough yet to do a dedicated book on him, number one. Number two, there's already, I think, enough things out there. And there's there are other Crowley scholars who are far more knowledgeable than I am. However, yes, I do think he's one of those that his reputation is worse than anything he really did. He was a weird, freaky guy, and he was his own worst enemy in regard to his reputation, because he would feed the bad reputation stuff. Mm-hmm. He would feed the reputation.
Feed the beast.
Exactly. And unfortunately, it stayed with him in an unfair way. But no, I think I will go on, with my opinion. I guess you'd say championing the idea that, no, he did not sacrifice babies, and no, he was not the mastermind of the Empire of the Wheel rituals or anything like that. I still stand by the evidence. The evidence to me suggests that he would have been appalled at what happened here.
Yeah.
Now, I was able in Empire of the Wheel 1, as you know, Rick and I were able to present that it is a fact that Aleister Crowley passed through San Bernardino during that mystery, during November of 1915, and I confirmed that through the historian at the Santa Fe Railroad Museum here in San Bernardino. So,
interesting.
Mm-hmm.
I just feel like he's generally misunderstood, again, because of him feeding the negative press, and also because most of the things that are written about Aleister Crowley are just wrong, and people think that he's this huge drug fiend, even though he did write a book called Diary of a Drug Fiend. He was iatrogenically addicted to heroin, I believe. But I mean, he was also an award-winning mountaineer, and had his fingers in lots of different pies. So I think that he's been unfairly characterized, and I was just curious if you thought you had it in you at some point to either author or perhaps co-author a book that sets the record straight, kind of in the way that the Esoteric Napoleon does.
No, not at this time. Not a dedicated book. I do think, by the way, that people should consider a little more seriously than some people do the possibility that he was indeed Barbara Bush's father. I haven't done a deep dive on the sources of the story that her mother was at Cephalou, I think it's called, when Crowley was there, and she was an associate of his associates. It's more than just, Barbara Bush looked like an older Crowley. There's a connection that her mother had, and as the story goes, her mother was a kind of a modern gal, as we'd say, and if you do the numbers, it looks like she got pregnant while in Cephalou, whatever it is, in Italy, where he had his swinging compound. So,
So that would imply that George Bush is related to Aleister Crowley rather closely.
Yeah, W and what's the knucklehead who was the governor of Florida? Jeb. And W, and they would have been Crowley's grandchildren, right? And
I can see why they wouldn't want to publicize that. Wouldn't be prudent.
Well, and think about it. They already had an indicted, banker,
right.
As the grandfather, right? Prescott Bush, who was 41's father, and he was indicted for providing banking services to Nazi Germany during, the conflict. So, gosh, you got dad and grandpa was, Nazi sympathizer, and then another grandpa was a notorious magician.
Yes, and that family and some other families that are well known for being rich supplied both sides with weapons They sold weapons to both sides,
Yeah.
and they were the winners of World War II.
Yep.
Moving right along. Do you believe that the assassination of JFK was the key in some sort of serious occult ritual?
I don't know. I totally think that there was ritual occultism involved in the assassination, whether it was the key in the ritual or just one of the products of a greater ritual. But yeah, there's definitely a form of magic that was done to the psyche of the public. To me, I do agree that it was also a very much a political coup as well, but it served multiple purposes on different levels, and I think that it has all the earmarks of the medieval Junker/Prussian culture that really manipulated the Prussians, the 48 states that would become unified Germany. And that culture they're also connected with a group called the Society of Lizards.
And we'll wait to talk about that until later.
Yeah. And, but the way Operation Paperclip happened, the way the Operation Paperclip Germans were instrumental in really building the American military-industrial complex, and the way specifically the assassination of JFK happened was right in line with the way these medieval Junker Prussian guys got control of what became Germany and how they compromise target nations. And they did it to us. There's a group that Rick Spence and I talked about the other day called the VEM, also known as the Firm. It all ties in. If you read Paul Winkler's The 1,000-Year Conspiracy, you'll learn a lot about what I'm talking about. And in my opinion, the United States was invaded from within through Operation Paperclip because these guys saw that the war for Germany was lost. So they had to shift. They're like a parasite. They have to shift to a new host. And they shifted to, what was the big winners, of the biggest ally, and that was the United States. And they've been poisoning us from within since the end of World War II through Operation Paperclip, through our military-industrial complex, and through and
on into what Dr. Farrell calls the Nazi International.
Yeah.
Okay, next question. How has your producer, Malia Grimm, personal friend of the show, if I can ever get her on,
Yep.
How has she changed things since you brought her on a few months ago? And how has her series Grim Scene Investigations been going on your channel?
Oh, it's been fantastic. But the big news is we were asked to each of us do shows on the Independent Broadcast Network, and those are going really well. She's done 3 episodes. I've done 2. I think 2 or 3. And my next one is tomorrow night. I've moved to Fridays, but since she's come on board, the upgrades on my YouTube channel are evident. I'm able to have guests now. I got the bells and whistles. I look like a real show, like yours does here. And people are really responding. My subscribers grew by about 500 or 600% now in the last 60 days.
I noticed that you're at like 5.19K subscribers. Congratulations.
Yeah, thanks. I've been amazed. It's been fantastic. And of course, she has upgraded the lostcontenetlibrary.com website, which, by the way, I had years ago. And then when, things took a turn economically for everybody in this country, that was one of the things I couldn't afford, was to simply renew my website. So I lost it, honestly, for 10 years to I think a South Korean real estate guy. And she comes in and she checks it and she goes, "Hey, I went ahead and renewed your .com because it was available again." So yay. I have lostcontinentlibrary.com again after, a decade, over a decade, I think now. And it's great because I had a lot of promotional material that I had bought almost 20 years ago that I couldn't use anymore, but now I can use it again because it's got that website. And she's really, we're bringing that up to speed. We're still working on that, but with the new radio show, with the way the YouTube channel's going, she has made some just incredible changes that have been fantastic for my company. So I'm thrilled.
Excellent. Good to hear. And you let her know. I'm ready to have her on.
Okay.
Well, I guess I can probably get in touch with her, but
I can give her a heads up. I can move her in that direction.
Yeah, let her know that all are welcome. All are welcome. No, I'm actually fairly discriminating, and I don't have a whole lot of people that I don't vet personally. But I vetted Malia personally, so like I said, friend of the show. Why is it that the goddess Hecate appears in all your fiction and some of your nonfiction?
Because Hecate shows up in every line of research that I have followed, and I'm not exaggerating. Whether it's a book on Disneyland, whether it's the Empire of the Whale mystery, and the diverse topics that are in that trilogy, whether it's my secret missions stuff, shimmering light about my dad and UFOs and Roswell, origin about the breakaway civilizations, and you name it. There are times where, more than once I've gone into something thinking, okay, she couldn't possibly show up here, have any pertinence here, and I'll be damned, but there she shows up. There's something that, even in Secret Missions 3, Destination Carcosa, she shows up in the research, and I can't fully explain it yet other than, I can't explain it yet, but she's prevalent. She's there. And, maybe she's the, I can say that the insight that I have gleaned is her presence, her role in things has to do with synchronicity and telluric current and any other phenomena associated with them. Essentially, she has to do with the thing that binds all of this together. But there she is, and it's undeniable.
The nougat that binds us.
Yeah, she, and I do think I figured out the mystery of her, which I will, I leave that to people to figure out for themselves. But when I did,
the lowdown.
Yeah, it's in Kaleidoscope Grimoire. When that movie's done, you will see exactly what I think Hecate is and what role she plays. So I'm dramatically depicting it, but I it's you'll get more out of it if you do the work, because I'll tell you this about Hecate. Just like that legendary abyss, she looks back. You look at her and she looks back.
I very much got that sense when I took the Empire of the Wheel tour with you and Malia, especially the statue that was on top of the building next to the campus.
Yep.
The three-headed lady. All over the place.
Yeah, she's definitely. What's funny is I had researched Empire of the Wheel, and I think I had finished the first book, or was almost done with the first book, I think, before I realized that was such a shrine to her. I had independently seen the statues up there, but I had not really some of the finer details that I showed you guys, like the circle and the roses and the stuff at that intersection. I hadn't immediately made the connection early on. That was something that kind of emerged in the doing.
But I guess at that point it might have been surprising, but then later, as the research kept going and you kept writing more and more books, maybe not so surprising after a time.
Oh, no. After Latitude 33, Empire of the Wheel 1, and the research, because I had started the research for Secret Missions 1, the one about Juan Cabrillo, at the same time that in 2007, the Juan Cabrillo stuff was emerging. And by the time I was into the research, I had done Latitude 33. And by the time I was deep into the research on Empire of the Wheel and in the Juan Cabrillo book, I was realizing, wait a minute, how she really emerged in all three of these books. And by that time, each time it happened, it would startle me in some cases, but ultimately it just never surprised me. And it's legit, folks. There's going to be some people out there that, they're, the cynical snarks we have, whatever, they bring nothing to any table. But I don't look for her. In fact, I've tried to make a point. Yeah, she finds you. She shows up in the data. She is there. And when you understand what she actually is and the role she serves, it begins to make even more sense as to why. But you got your very superstitious people that just see her as some type of demonic entity, and I disagree with that.
Well, ignorant people will be ignorant.
It's truly, if you take a close look of your own, you will see that the idea of her being some dark entity, that's paranoid churchianity people. Or that's the witches, the witch culture, who are very smug and really think that she belongs entirely to them and she's all about them and their thing, and they're literally just seeing one facet of a multifaceted reality there with her. They're like the blind men with the elephant, right? Yeah. They're feeling, the tail, and they're thinking, oh, that's what she is, when they're just not taking a close enough look. And
what was the Society of Wizards?
The Society of Lizards was a kind of a I guess you'd call it a fraternal political type of elitist type group. And I'm still working on learning more about them, but they were this fraternal order within the Junkers, of whom I speak, the ones that really created the expression of what we know as fascism. The Society of Lizards is still kind of murky. On the more wild aspect, they might be associated in ancient times to the Anunnaki, and I'm speaking from more of an anthropological perspective. No, I don't think these people were literal lizards. But their heritage, their crest. What am I trying to say here? Their heraldic code or symbolism would be the lizard. It's just a kind of one of those secret orders inside a group of elitists.
Yeah. Yeah, I know what that's like. How is the work on the Esoteric Napoleon Volume 2 coming along?
Oh, very well. I have actually right here, I've got 2 volumes that I've been doing research on, and you can see all the note tabs there. And there's a third one that's, I don't have note tabs but one in this, but much highlighted. And this one, I have decided that this information is worthy of more than just, to do it justice, I've got to do more than just a second volume. So also, in order to get the next one out sooner to the people that have been anxious to read it, I'm going to be doing probably 3 more volumes. They're going to be smaller than the first one, but they will each cover an aspect of the remaining, a major thread of the remaining data. And for me to flesh it out the right way, I want to do dedicated books. So there will be a volume 2, 3, and 4. And volume 2, I should be able, I'm really confident that I can come out with that one by mid to late summer. So
cool.
But it's going very well. The kinds of things that I'm finding in the research, as you can see with all the notes, are just blowing my mind.
Yeah, I can't wait. Now, I realize that you're what's the way to put it? You know as much about stuff in the UFO community as anybody else, much more in the case of a lot of people. But you are not an ETH guy. You're more of a crypto-terrestrial, ultra-terrestrial, extra-dimensional kind of thing. And of course, the breakaway society or a group. I'm curious, what books you would recommend for people that are just getting interested in the UFO research field or the paranormal in general, given your sort of bent on that whole topic.
Well, first, I think all of those things are valid. The ETH, the crypto ultradimensionals, and the secret human technology. But what I think the breakdown is ET accounts for really among the smaller percentage of the UFO mystery, which I know disappoints a lot of devotees of that hypothesis. I think the greatest number, of course, 90% at least, can be explained by advanced human technology, just the public and much of the military public doesn't know about this specifically. But we have reached a point in ufology and in the UFO community where there's just a constant barrage of case after case after case, and this latest and that really my best advice to somebody is just to step back. The truth about UFOs and the whole thing is that you can ignore, about 95% of all the stuff that's being talked about from week to week. And that's kind of a sad fact, because there's just so much BS now that's just piled on, and so many things that are faked, and so much lying going on, and so much mistaken identity of what people are looking at, that you're really just wasting a lot of time and energy to keep
all the
up
cool
on it.
Toys.
Yeah, so I quit keeping up on, Walter, did you hear the latest UFO thing or whatever? The reason I quit keeping up on that every bit of minutia was every time you go look at it, it turns out to be nothing. Mm-hmm. No matter how strongly the person says, no, but this time it's different. So no, it's usually not different. But I would recommend go back and read the Project Blue Book by Edward Ruppelt, because you're going to get some honesty. You're going to get corrected on some things that have become popular lore but are actually not true, or things that are just popularly lied about and contested just because it doesn't fit a popular narrative. Go read, I would recommend read Jacques Vallée's work that he did up to, before the year 2000, okay?
The Invisible College,
Passport to Magonia, the Revelations, Confrontations, and the other one. There's 3 in that little trilogy there. But the stuff he's done since 2000, it's disappointing.
Yeah,
it really
I
is.
was shocked when he hooked up with Paola Harris.
Oh, I know.
To do the Trinity thing. I'm like,
yeah, that is a sadly embarrassing claim. And
you couldn't find 2 people more different, and
Right.
I really feel like Paola Harris is taking advantage of a nice old man that may be getting a little senile.
Well, I think that I don't know if he's getting senile, but
Or
I
maybe he just
think
doesn't have the bullshit detector as well as he used to.
I think, you reach a point in life where it's like, hey, it's time to be comfortable. And think about it. He gets so much adoration and worship from luminaries in the UFO field every time he goes somewhere. I mean, I've literally seen, luminaries that shall remain unnamed here, fawn over him like, little boys or some type of religious devotee. And I've seen him kind of like wave them off, or I've seen the look on his face like, oh my God, the guy's contribution, as far as I'm concerned, his greatest contribution was before the year 2000 and really before the mid 90s when he was writing those books that I named. That's his greatest contribution, because I think he was being his most honest. I think now he's kind of going along with the ETH because, those are the people that adore him openly and such. But that's, so read Jacques Vallée's stuff up till then.
They may not even realize that the majority of his work has to do with questioning the ETH.
Yes. Yeah, and talking about other beings and other possibilities. He even talks about that group I talk about, the Tuatha-De-Danann. Mm-hmm. And that's where I first heard of them, was back in the 80s reading one of his books. Yeah. Yeah. And that's the other thread. With Hecate, the Tuatha-De-Danann show up in every thread I pull in my research.
Right.
Those are the two things, Hecate and the Tuatha-De-Danann. So I ask myself, what the hell's going on here with those two parties? What's going on here? Why are they so prevalent in the arcane threads of our reality? And this is my great quest in my nonfiction life.
We are in the second hour. So, folks in the chat, please go ahead and type in any questions you have for our guest, Mr. Walter Bosley, and we will do our best to get them answered here. And somebody's already guessing. I think we're going to have the wheel this time. But another thing I wanted to ask you, Walter, is which of your books was the most enjoyable to research and write, and why?
Oh, wow. I always instinctively or reflexively jump to Secret Missions 2, The Lost Expedition of Sir Richard Francis Burton, because that experience was such a pure research joy. That book right there. I'm so proud of that book. I spent 8 hours a day, 7 days a week doing the reading on the research in that book. If you look in the bibliography, I think there are 70 some books listed, and the footnotes refer to 50 some of those. I actually referred to 90 some books. Oh, and by the way, the lion's share, the majority of those books were already in my personal library.
Oh, interesting.
I had to obtain some books, but the overwhelming majority.
David's books here.
Yeah, and a lot more. It for some reason I distinctly I can go back and remember specific days, and at the same time what I was doing for my leisure time was playing a lot of World of Warcraft, and I can get this, I go back in, I log in, and I go play in certain realms, certain places, territories in World of Warcraft that I was playing while I worked on the Burton book. And And I'm taken right back there mentally to, oh, I remember what part I was writing when I was playing here a lot, that kind of thing. So there's certain areas in World of Warcraft that distinctly remind me of the Burton book. But I read 7 days a week, eight hours a day. I'm not exaggerating in any way, for 5.5 months of doing that just for the academic research part.
Like a full-time job.
Like it was a full-time job and then some. And then it took me, I think, 2 months, maybe 3, of writing the book itself. And I've always been proud of the Burton book. I feel like it's one of my most overlooked books, and it's one of the best I've ever written.
I can confirm.
Thank you. And I would say that Napoleon, the esoteric Napoleon, comes next, because it was just such exciting data and discoveries and things I was learning. And I like to use the analogy of Richard Dreyfuss in Jaws, when they bring him in the early in the movie, when he does the he goes in to do the autopsy on the victim, and he gets all disgusted with him, and he says, "This was no boating accident." I feel the same way about Napoleon. It's like, this crap we've been taught about Napoleon in school and in movies, on TV, because of British historians, Anglophile historians, that's a bunch of crap. This is not the real Napoleon. And, I was just learning that constantly during the investigation and research on the Napoleon book. So it was just a great pleasure to present that book to people, because I feel strongly about this, as you know. But the Burton book is The Lost Expedition of Sir Richard Francis Burton, Secret Missions 2. It's in my Secret Missions series.
Yes.
And that, if it's not up already, it will be on Amazon soon. But go to lulu.com, go to lostcontinentlibrary.com, and that's all the books are linked there. I'd really love it if you guys would go to lostcontinentlibrary.com. You can find the links to everything that I talk about there. That'd be great. It would help with traffic, and you'd get to see what I'm doing there. But yeah, so those 2 books are my favorites as far as the writing experience.
Now, we know that you do a lot of your own live streams on the Walter Bosley channel. Mm-hmm. Can you tell us about that, your new show on Fridays, and the other shows that are on your channel?
Sure, yeah. Well, most of you know I've been at the Walter Bosley channel for a few years, but recently, if you haven't been there since November, you might want to go check out the Walter Bosley channel, because thanks to my producer, Malia Grimm, it is incredible. It's incredibly different, and like I said, what she's done, what we're doing there, and have been for the last few months, has increased subscriptions by over 500%. Just in the last 45 to 60 days. It's amazing. And a lot of that's the guests too, but the ability to have the guests on, as I said earlier, is thanks to Malia. So that's upgraded, and we're doing great things there. But also, we were both invited to each do our own radio, talk radio. There's nothing video there, at Independent Broadcast
Network,
independentbroadcast.com or something like that. Yeah, and there's a link at my Walter Bosley channel. And I've done a couple of episodes. She's done a few episodes already, and we've moved to our new nights because they're settling in the schedule there. And we got prime times. I'm on Friday nights from 9 p.m. to midnight Pacific time,
which is a great time for a radio show, even though it's literally called the death slot on television.
Yeah, it's weird. Yeah, on television, the death slot, but for radio, it's great. And my show there, by the way, is called Lost Horizons. And here's what's different about it. It is not a replica of the Walter Bosley channel at YouTube. Okay, it's just me. It's me musing more. It's me a little bit more subdued in in the regard to compared how energetic I can be at the Walter Bosley channel, because that's a different animal. And this radio show, I'm excited to do it because it allows me to delve into things that I don't go into, or I feel like that the YouTube audience might not find as interesting. So it's different content. So don't think that the Lost Horizons show with Walter Bosley at the Independent Broadcast Network is the same thing as Walter Bosley channel at YouTube, because it's not. And that's purposeful. I definitely want them to be different.
Different animals, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
The Bodhisattva Kid asks, have you looked into simulation theory, modern or historical paradigms, as it tends to support the idea of the same figures appearing throughout history?
I have the simulation theory as such, that, as I understand it, as far as like literal simulation, which a lot of people think it's literal, we're all just living in the Matrix, and these things we're doing aren't real, that we're all just where we really.
Isn't that what the if you have it, it's a coincidence. If I have it, it's a synchronicity. Aren't the synchronicities the glitch in the Matrix and then the simulation?
Well, first of all, I don't take the simulation as literal. This is real. This is all literal. What we're experiencing, believe me, this is very real. But I am a subscriber to the perception of, the interpretation of my perceptions, the hypothesis that things do repeat themselves in a general way. The specifics are a little different from time to time, but history is circular. I like to say spherical, not linear.
Right.
And and there is a mathematical measurement of that, and that measurement repeats itself, and there are certain things that are going to happen and roles that are going to be played that are kind of their nature is what we would call archetypal, but they're predetermined, that those things and those roles are predetermined, but who is in those roles and who makes those certain events occur, that's variable, depending upon, this is how free will and predestination, this is how they can coexist. The events and roles are predetermined, but who fills them, who makes them happen, varies from age to age. And what I found in my research is there is some connection Hecate has to what this cycle is in this regard, and it's tied in also synchronicities, also karmic, your individual personal karmic frequency, whatever that may be. It all works to make make reality happen. So that's what I think about that. But I do not buy into this, that none of this is real, that it's all like a holodeck thing. No, I don't buy into that. That's a popular notion today because of popular science fiction of the last couple of decades.
Speaking of which, I was going to ask you if you've seen the movie Predestination, based on Heinlein's wonderful story, All You Zombies.
No, I haven't.
I think you'd really like it.
I'll check it out.
It's right up your alley.
Cool.
It's a really, really great movie. Great cast, great everything. It's one of those movies that after you watch it, it stays with you for a long time and kind of makes you think. So I was just kind of curious about that. Now, on the other hand, what would you say was the most difficult book that you've written, insofar as the research? Maybe you had some false starts, or anything like that?
What comes to mind is the question that comes to my mind in you asking that is, what was the book that was just drudgery for me to get through?
Yeah.
And what's weird is there is one, but now for some reason I can't remember which one it was. That's I'll probably be able to answer that down the road because it'll pop into my head at midnight or
you'll
3
wake up at 3:30 in the morning and go, I've got to call Gil.
I know that there's one of my books that was just excruciating to get through, and I can't remember which one that was, because when I go and think of each individual one, I think, that one wasn't hard to get through, was it? No, but there was one, and I just can't remember what it was for some reason. Now, some of the sources I've read in my research have been excruciating, like, oh my God, Burton's book about the 30 days, 3 weeks or whatever or so that he spent in Salt Lake City. Oh my God, somebody just give me a ice pick to shove into my pituitary gland, because that was the driest. But I read every word of it because it was pertinent. Those of you who've read the book. Makes you want to
scoop out your eyes with a melon ball.
Oh yeah, it was, I think I came away from that one with a headache. It was that, But as far as to write, I just can't think of which one it was. I guess what it is, when it's out, you love it, and you forget all the pain.
Yeah. And of course, as a writer, screenwriter myself, I can attest to the fact that it's, a work like that is never done. You might put it out, but you'd still like to tweak it, and that's why second editions exist.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true. That's true. In fact, I have done second edition on Latitude 33 in one of my other books. I have done a second edition on.
And speaking of Latitude 33, can you give us a brief summary of what the book is about and how you came to understand the information that's in this book?
Oh boy, that's a long story in itself, how I came to understand it.
We seem to have plenty of time.
Yeah, and I recount it in the book. When you read the book and you read my encounter with an older gentleman by the name of Alfred, I encountered him in Disneyland in 1981 in Fantasyland, and that kicked off decades of mystery that led to writing that book. And a lot of other weirdness. So it was a personal experience that happened years ago. Like I said, 1981. Which
I just have to say, Walter, reading this book is an e-ticket.
Oh, thank you. And I got to tell you, I think it's I kind of cringe because it was my first nonfiction book, and I read it. I'm like, ooh, this needs, but it's in the, I will say, talk about new editions. The third edition of Latitude 33 is on the way because it is being seriously edited, and I'm adding additional materials. So a new edition of Latitude 33 will be out sometime this year, I'm thinking.
Nice.
Yeah. So, but going back to it, it was just that the weird experience I had there, my lifelong love of the place. It's a travesty now, the Disneyland experience compared to what it used to be in its golden age.
Walt would be turning in his cryo containment cube.
Yeah, what that company has done, since... it started under Eisner, and it got even, worse after he left. But so yeah, my love of the place, my affinity and weird, psycho-emotional connection to the place, the weird experience that I had, and then learning things about the park itself and who was involved with building it, engineering it. And then when Sechery took a look at it, and that was mind-blowing, took a look at the data, those things really revealed to me that there's something strange going on with the Magic Kingdom, and it resulted in that book.
I'm going to make myself big for this here. Does this look at all familiar?
Is it a Haunted Mansion door handle?
It is.
Oh, cool.
It's a real one.
Oh. What, like after they refurbished it or something, they sold the...
Well, I don't know if they sold it, but my good friend, Mr. Gary Ambrosia, used to work for Disney and a couple of other big Hollywood studios.
Cool.
And now he restores old props and 3D prints stuff, and he actually just makes casts of most things, and then pours like the ballistic gel or whatever into it. And I've got a goblet from the Princess Bride that he repopped, and it's he's really into that kind of collecting. So
cool.
That's a lot of fun. I like that stuff.
Disneyland was once a truly magic place, and I was kind of
giving away the book to mention why it changed.
Oh, no, not at all, because I wrote that book. I came out with that book in 2008. I've talked about it a lot. Essentially, what Sechery's analysis of topographical maps and his study of geomorphology revealed is that there is an intersection of three major curvilinear telluric currents at Disneyland, and it's in the heart of Fantasyland, and the carousel used to sit right smack dab centered over top of that intersection. Now, in 1982, when they redesigned Fantasyland, they moved the carousel back several feet, I think like 30-some feet or something, and maybe 33 feet. And in my opinion, the device that was Disneyland was disengaged. Now, what do I mean by device? Well, Disneyland is built into a bowl, okay? The railroad that goes around the border of Disneyland is actually a berm that is raised above the basic level of Disneyland. So they dug a bowl into the terrain. It's kind of an upside down triangle with rounded corners instead of points. And the hypothesis that I put forward is that the carousel, in its rotation throughout the day and night during its open hours, would draw up energy from this intersection of these telluric currents, and not only draw it up, but distribute it through the park, would spread it out through the park. And because the park is built in a bowl, that energy would spread throughout the entire park, but when it gets to the berm, it's bended up, it moves up and comes back down into the park, so that the energy that was drawn up
rains down.
Yeah, so it keeps it contained. So it used to be when you go to Disneyland, and I tested this, because I was almost 20 years old by the time they moved the carousel. So this wasn't just something I experienced when I was a little kid and I'm being nostalgic. Right. You used to go to Disneyland and you would forget that it's in Anaheim, California. You would forget everything outside of, the borders of Disneyland. You would forget about, the time of day it was, other than the position of the sun and when the moon came up, like being in a Vegas casino almost, how they don't have clocks and things. You would just get totally absorbed in the park. Okay, and you could not be. I think my dad was the only guy that I like to joke. He was the only guy that could be in a bad mood at Disneyland. But that's another story, which you can read in Shimmering Light. But seriously, you just couldn't be in a bad mood at Disneyland. Everybody liked the place as it was. You knew when you went to Disneyland, it wasn't Magic Mountain, it wasn't Knott's Berry Farm, it wasn't just a roller coaster, place. It was something else, something more. And after 1982, that increasingly began to change in a noticeable way. But what's interesting is the man who actually engineered Disneyland was hired away from SRI, the Stanford Research Institute.
No kidding.
Yeah, who was involved in all sorts of weird science, as you guys know, including, some involvement in the remote viewing program. Okay, so this guy, oh my gosh, I'm doing a brain dump on his name. It's in the book there. He loved the idea of Disneyland. Basically, Walt and Roy went to different firms, and they went to SRI. This was in the 50s, to get some engineering input and some analyses of really where to put the park. They considered
Why would they go to SRI for that?
Because SRI was a well-known engineering firm for big projects.
Oh, okay.
And so they went to them for the analysis. They also did analysis, and it's like, hey, where should we put this park? And the different locations considered included out here in the San Bernardino Valley, specifically over near between San Bernardino and Riverside. And one version
to Hecate already.
Yeah, we're and also north in LA, closer to Hollywood, but also in Anaheim. And C.V. Wood is the guy's name. C.V. Wood was the guy assigned by SRI to head up the Disneyland consultant project. And he's the one that pushed the Anaheim location where it's actually located. So from the get-go, this guy was partial to that site. I think that he was aware of the intersection of the telluric current, because if any organization or group would be aware of that kind of energy, which, by the way, people, is a real energy. This isn't fantasy land.
It's what telegraph operators are based on.
Yeah, ground radio, that kind of, all sorts of other things. But so he pushed them to buy the acreage, 160 acres, I think, of citrus acreage, and say, hey, you put it right here, you're going to have, it's good centrally located for Southern California, blah, blah, blah. But I think he really pushed it for the special properties connected with this intersection of telluric current. Now, C.V. Wood is the guy that actually did that. Oh, he liked the project so much, the Disneys liked him so much, that they hired him away from SRI, and he became the head engineer for physical Disneyland. That meant that the layout of the park, C.V. Wood is the one that came up with that. Mm-hmm. And so he's the one who placed the carousel in the original spot, which Sechery revealed was directly atop of that telluric current intersection, 3 lines of it.
Right.
And so C.V. Wood was also an associate of a guy named Tom Swift, not the kids' book series, but the real guy named Tom Swift, who was a philanthropist, millionaire, who was keenly interested in psychic phenomenon, and he was well known to be one of the guys who went on expeditions to hunt for the Yeti, the abominable snowman. So he was interested in cryptids and weird stuff. C.V. Wood was one of the founding members of Tom Swift's Mind Science Foundation, which was all about, the powers of the mind and beyond and other dimensions. And anyway,
a little bit like the Robert Monroe Institute.
Yeah, a little bit. And when you look at C.V. Wood, it makes the engineering of Disneyland way more interesting than it might have appeared to you before. And so, you throw that together with all the other stuff that's in that book that I discovered, the Tuatha-De-Danann connection, which is really overt in there. And then you tie it all together with the weird experience I had. You can see why I wrote that book. And why I'm still so fascinated. And by the way, Philip K. Dick had a fascination with Disneyland as well.
Please continue.
Well, Tessa knows much more the details about that than I do.
She's never mentioned it to me.
I heard it mentioned by other people, and then I asked her about it, and she said, "Oh yeah, he was keenly." I haven't gone into depth with her on it, but I heard it from other sources.
So maybe he was kind of sensitive to the telluric current fountain, as it were.
I think so. I think so. And I like how you put that. I never thought of it that way, but a fountain. Yeah. Disneyland is a fountain of telluric current. Cardinal Sin is the first to say that, folks. So he deserves credit. The
TM.
Yeah.
We have another question from the Bodhisattva Kid. Walter, has your research extended down to Antarctica and the breakaway civilizations that are down there? Now, that's a question that presumes a lot. So, given that.
The research I've done on Antarctica, I think I've either both talked about and to the pertinent extent included in my books. But basically, I think that Antarctica holds ancient secrets, historical secrets. I think that's a big part of what what somebody knows, is down there. Obviously, I think there's something to the whole idea of the maps that show Antarctica centuries ago before it was iced over. I don't buy all the recent claims about it, and I think most people know why who have listened to me. I was told essentially the same basic story that's been going around recently about the giant hole that was found and about the team that went in there and they were just startled and scared to death by what they saw. And I was told that in the mid-90s, and I was told that happened in 1960. Folks. So, you hear that, no, it happened recently. No, folks, that story's been going around for decades. So it's, so it either happened once, several years ago, or it didn't happen at all. I wonder if it's not what's called inking the waters, a narrative that's put out there and told to people and who are told that this is something secret, don't talk about it, and they see who will run their mouths. And, that gets out there. It's a narrative somebody created, and they go, oh, that narrative's out there again. Okay, now we know we can't trust this guy or that guy or whatever, or now we know who will believe, stuff. So the problem is you have to question that particular narrative, but I do think there's some major secret down there that, yes, is being hidden from us that I would say primarily has to do with some truth of our ancient history.
Was it Buzz Aldrin that tweeted that there was an intelligent and ancient evil down there?
Yeah, he did.
And then he took it down?
Yeah, he did. And you had and remember on election night, was it election night 2016? You had
Kerry went down there.
John Kerry goes to Antarctica, and around that time you had all sorts of interesting characters with a need to go to the pole station. And Aldrin was one of those weird visits, but something's down there that is getting people's attention, that's scaring the hell out of people. So who knows?
Radioactive mentions Walter hit the nail on the head about disinfo operations. And the Bodhisattva Kid mentions the only global treaty that's ever held is the Antarctic Treaty of 1957.
Right. Isn't that interesting? I don't even think the de-weaponization of space treaty ever been really taken seriously. I was just talking about that yesterday. But yeah, you're right. For some reason, that Antarctica treaty. So maybe there is something down there that is something akin to what Ronald Reagan once wistfully said, if we had, it would bring us all together. Maybe there is evidence of something that could beat all our asses down there, and they take it damn seriously.
Yeah. Which of the standard ETH cases stand out to you as being sincerely high strangeness and or more than just a folk tale?
Woody Dernberger and the actual Indrid Cold incident. This is one of my peeves. The crap that has been woven from that report, in our times. All these people out there that think they know who Indrid Cold is, what Indrid Cold is, and all about Indrid Cold. It's a load of crap when you look at it. But I think what you need to do is go to the Woody Dernberger, the original reports about Indrid Cold, which kind of coincided with the Mothman stuff. But the original Mothman stuff, the original Indrid Cold stuff. I disagree with some of the folks that say Indrid Cold was a member of some criminal gang. I've heard that one. Basically, yeah, what happens with Indrid Cold is he's one of those that unfortunately has become a conspiracy land chameleon. He's all things to all people, and people take the Indrid Cold thing and make him, what they want him to be, so they have a spooky story or something to tell. But it really still is one of the best ones out there for the weirdness. But you just go to Woody Dernberger and forget all the crap after that you hear. Right. On that particular one. There is there's the stuff, the Herbert Schirmer case from back in the, I want to say, early 60s. Mm-hmm. If you look up Herbert Schirmer, and he encountered the being with the tube that stung like needles. There's multiple. My dad told me back in 1974 that one of the things in his weird story that I go into in Shimmering Light, read that book. It was being, these underground humans that had the same type of weapon. Again, go back to Jacques Vallée and the three books, Confrontations, Revelations, and I forget what the third one is.
I do too.
Yeah, I've got them right up on the shelf. But
I do too.
But go to those books. Go to Passport to Magonia. Yeah, those are the ones right off the top of my head that really give great examples of the weirder cases. I think more than one person has pointed out that MUFON was found guilty of, like a lot of ETH researchers. Shame on all of you who do this and have ever done it. But cherry picking the data, that there were reports where there was a lot of high strangeness, weird stuff other than ETH stuff that ETH proponent investigators would not report. They would only report the stuff that would back up their ETH. And they've done this throughout ufology history. And it's just really, I think it's tiresome and boring, the dominance that the ETH, Deros and Teros, yeah, good suggestion. But the dominance that the ETH has had in ufology, and that's because somebody's making enough money on it to keep it dominant. There's a market for it.
There's
a market.
Wide-eyed believers.
But also, it's a good cover for other things. When you want to give people something, otherworldly, but you don't really want them to focus on what it could actually be, then you give them ETs. Oh, yeah, it's people from other worlds.
Dr. Stephen Greer collects all the cell phones before he takes people out on his CE5 expedition, so they can't look at the satellite app that he's using to determine, when they're coming overhead.
Right, exactly. But I still encounter people that swear Stephen Greer is legit and he's, you can trust him. And I just kind of, I don't want to laugh in their faces, but it's
a
ridiculous.
Shame. It makes you shake your head and just kind of go, well, people are going to believe what they're going to believe. If they already have confirmation bias, then he's their guru, and that's all there is to it.
Yeah.
Now,
hey, they're still they're
hasn't done important work. I think that the 2001 Press Club thing was important, and a couple of his other, things at the United Press Club were were important, but then he comes out with these movies that are obvious hoaxes, and he says stuff, it's just total bullshit. And I think he swindles people, out of their money.
Yeah, that's the real bad thing. Hey, look, there's still people that believe in Corey Good, even after these depositions where clearly he's saying it's all my IP, it's all made up, it's all, I've never been to space. I mean,
Nathan Etzel in the chat says, "Thank you so much for saying that, Walter.
Sure.
I've tried to analyze Stephen Greer's work and have come to the conclusion that he is controlled opposition."
He may not be controlled opposition. It's likely that he's just another boob out there that's wanting to remain relevant and make the UFO dollar.
Honestly, I think that he's a self-delusional fellow. That he believes a lot of what he says, but when people caught him using the satellite app on his phone, it was kind of all
the jig was up
after that point. But
if he is involved in any kind of narrative control, he's what we call in that business an unwitting source, an unwitting asset, to be more specific.
Useful idiot.
Useful idiot is another way of putting it. An unwitting asset can be a useful idiot. They're not always idiots. He is just not the type that if you're an intelligence officer of any stripe, you're not going to recruit this guy to be a witting asset. Okay. Because you're just not going to do that. But you will use the hell out of him as an unwitting asset, a useful idiot. Yeah.
Yeah. Speaking of useful idiots, who would you paste as hucksters, hoaxsters, etc., in the UFO community, both past and present?
Look, anybody.
I'll start off with Sean David Morton.
Oh yeah, don't just ignore that guy. You don't even have to be specific. It's look at the claims people are making, and
certainly the cult of personality.
Yeah, I hate to say it, but when you got people saying that they're in contact, regular ongoing contact, I would be really skeptical of that. Certainly don't send them your money. Okay, anybody. I'll tell you this. I'll use the word anybody without qualification. Anybody who claims to have been an SSP commando or even a janitor, okay?
What's SSP?
Secret Space Program.
Oh, okay, right.
Anybody who claims to have been an SSP commando or anything is a bullshit artist. They're lying. There's no way that it's the truth. Ignore that crap. I don't care how fun it is or how much you want to believe. And there's another thing. The worst thing that the X-Files impressed upon the popular psyche is that damned phrase on that poster in Mulder's office, I want to believe. We've talked about that before. I hate that because unfortunately, all the crap and all the fraud and all the nonsense in the community, it thrives on all these people who want to believe. And, the problem is they want the rest of us to believe it too.
They're showing their confirmation bias right there. And very few people that have a confirmation bias one way or the other are open-minded enough to consider the other person's point of view.
Right.
Or the other point of view.
Right. Well, and then you run into a problem, however, when you use your discernment and your own critical thinking and you legitimately eliminate a possibility, you get the people who believe in that possibility accusing you of, you're doing what it was you just said. You're just not taking it seriously enough, or you're just, no, some things can be eliminated. Mm-hmm. Legitimately eliminated, and I say
critical thinking, people.
Yeah, folks, I hate to tell you, but you can start off by eliminating, here's that number again, 90% of the crap you hear in the community that you're told is real. And then the remaining 10% use critical thinking, use serious critical thinking on the remaining 10% that you don't dismiss. What does that tell you? That it's mostly entertainment, it's mostly nonsense.
But with that nugget of truth.
There's a nugget of truth there. Of course there's intelligent beings out in the cosmos, Sure. Yeah, I think that's just logical. That's just rational.
Maybe they've been here at some point.
Oh, I think some have. I think absolutely some have, and some do. But those who do and those who have, it's very rare that they're going to turn up among the stories and claims in the Western Hemisphere's UFO community.
And speaking of which, what is your take on all this stuff that's been going on, since 2004 at least, but that was, made the front page of the New York Times in 2017, the Tic Tac and Lou Elizondo. What is your considered opinion about all of that?
Lou Elizondo was always, in my opinion, a contractor for the CIA running a perception management operation. The Tic Tac is U.S. Technology that was being field tested on our personnel. None of that was from another world. The TTSA, Tom DeLonge was used by the personnel running the CIA-based or fronted, take your pick, perception management op that Lou was running. That's the UFO community was bamboozled, and shame on the loudmouth assholes in the UFO Twitterverse. You know who you are. Some of them now have made names for themselves. It cracks me up. Some of these Twitter jerk-offs that were running their mouths. I saw where they started becoming guests on podcasts and or started there, whatever, and they're so full of crap because since then I think everybody realizes what I'm saying is likely true. And all they did was come in and cause a bunch of bad energy and hate and division in the UFO community. And that might have been, I very well suspect that was part of the operational agenda. So it was all BS. I'm one of the ones who said it, folks. I'm one of the few voices that back in 2017 was trying to tell everybody this is bullshit. This is a perception management op. The Tic Tac is not from another world, and I have people
given that
openly.
That's the case. Mm-hmm. What do you think it was, and why would they slam something so fast in between two of the Navy's fastest jet aircraft that they had to peel off as it went right down the center?
Flight test. Also, okay, remember.
Without their knowledge?
Of course. This idea, this cracks me up, particularly when it comes from civilians who have never been in the military a damn day in their lives, and
that would be me.
Much less have never, worked even around that world of classified technology. Here's the thing: if you've developed something that it's time to field test it, and you want an honest response from human personnel, why do you tell them about it? What you do is, when you go in the military, you sign papers, and one of those papers says you're handing over, authority for them to do this very thing.
Right.
To test shit on you and around you.
You're no
and
longer
read
an
the fine
citizen. You're
yeah.
a military citizen.
Yeah, you're a military citizen now. So you sign away anything they can't do to civilians. Number one. Number two, they want an honest response from their war fighters. Let's say, okay, let's see how our people react to this in the field, who don't know about it. That'll give us what the human response of the adversary is going to be. So what they do is you get get fighter pilots who, by the way, are on a routine getting your flight hours sortie in. Those aircraft were unarmed. Okay? Unarmed. There's a first big clue bird for you. Number two, the area of the ocean that this happened in is well known to be a channel for testing classified military technology in development. And yet the damned it's an ET, it couldn't be our stuff crowd of idiots, okay? They like to conveniently ignore what I just stated, okay? I can't tell you how many guys, civilians, never been in the military, who got pissed off at me for this position. You don't know. I'm like, yeah, oh yeah, and then third thing, it was Air Force intelligence officers who went into the naval ships and retrieved, without resistance, the naval commander said, let them in, they retrieved the drives. The drives from the computers on the ship that recorded the data, okay? And people say, see, that's proof that it was from another world. No, it's not. No. It's the Air Force retrieving the data on some technology that they damn well know what it is because they're probably paying for its development. That's what's going on there, folks. So and sorry to break your hearts.
Maybe that's why the Air Force has been so
silent
on the topic, yeah.
Ooh, gee, you and many other people noticed that and pointed that out. But no, that's because they're hiding the truth about the aliens from us. I get so tired of that ignorant response year after year, even when things are pointed out to people that sorry, it's just not that way.
Yeah. Let's see here. I know that we have just a couple of minutes left in the giveaway, and I wanted to mention to folks, if you follow the URL that's on your screen, you can be entered to win one of 3 pint glasses that we're giving away today. And I'm sure that a mod will pop in here in 3 minutes or so. But another thing that's interesting from Gigi Abby Lynn, that sonar weapons are underrated. They can move very large objects with sound and manipulation of frequency. What do you think about that, Walter?
I think there's something to that. I mean, there are other technologies that were being developed in the 50s, for example, that, were in the direction of what we would call anti-gravity, that sometime in the late 50s, there was a breakthrough. I'm not the only one who thinks this. There was some major breakthrough because suddenly that's when the lid was put on it. And when there's a sudden lid put on something, that in the United States, that usually means our Department of Defense has made a breakthrough on it, and this can no longer be public. Look at T. Townsend Brown. Go look at dark journalists' reports that involve T. Townsend Brown.
I'm a subscriber to Dark Journalist.
Yeah, and learn more about T. Townsend Brown. But he was one of the people involved.
Now you've had Dark Journalist on your show before, right?
No. I've been on his, but get him down the road.
We lost your. You froze there for a second.
Oh, I'm hoping to get DJ on the show down the road. He hasn't been on yet. I've been on his show.
And before we wrap up and get into the giveaway, I wanted to give you a chance to answer questions that I the way I put it is questions I wish people would ask me. Is there something that, as a journalist or an interviewer or whatever, that I and other people sort of don't get to or don't think of to ask you that you wish they would? Because
I love,
if that's the case, we don't know what it is.
I love talking about my fiction. Because my fiction is really interwoven with threads from my nonfiction research.
And
I tell people that all the time.
Damn it, Walter. It's so good.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. I sincerely
thought I
appreciate
was a
that.
writer, and it turns out after reading some of your fiction, I'm just a cat that can turn a good phrase. I mean,
Well, thank you.
it's
I
stupendous, really.
thank you. I started writing fiction in my freshman year of high school is when I started seriously writing it for an English class. Instead of writing something each week, my weekly writing assignment composition was another chapter in this fantasy horror series that I created in my head called Gophers. At that time, we had a gopher issue in our front lawn, and so I imagined this. It started out as a horror story, and then it ends up being there's this fantasy world of kingdom of gophers under the ground. So I started doing that. Actually, no, I'm sorry. It was in junior high. Believe it or not, I love that. I'm glad we brought this up. In junior high, in eighth grade, I wrote a story titled "Terror at Disneyland." And it was a group of terrorists at Disneyland. One of the things they did was stretch a cable across the track on the Matterhorn at neck level, and I even did a drawing of everybody's heads being lopped off. And think about it, I would go on to write a book about Disneyland, and I would go on to be a counterterrorism guy. So I think it was very prescient. But then I wrote this Gophers story, and then from there, writing was a thing for me. So I jumped over to screenplays, and then started writing novels after 2000 or thereabouts. So it's something I've done a long time, and I love talking about it.
Well, you're very good at it, my friend.
Thank you.
You're very good at it, and that's high praise from me. I will tell you that. All right. At this time, I would like to welcome the one and the only Canadian Spider-Man.
Hello. Hi.
There he is.
Hi. Can you hear me okay?
Oh, yeah. We hear you great. Love your shirt.
Fantastic. I've been intrigued with. I could hear you go on for another hour, Walter. Maybe.
Oh, thank you. Thanks.
Yeah,
And believe me, I could.
I always feel like it's not enough time, but 2 hours goes by so fast.
Yeah, it sure does. I can't take credit for the wheel, as you know. Jill, anti-derivative Jill, has constructed the wheel, but let me just pull it up here right now.
Awesome. And while we're waiting, Walter, do you have any plans to continue working with David?
With
Children?
David. Oh, well, I haven't really worked with David.
Or maybe to travel more.
Oh, yeah, I would love to. It's been several years since I went on. I'm one of the biggest fans and advocates of his Wex Club trips that he's the tour guide on. And because he's more than just an average tour guide. He's a very personable guy to travel with. He makes everybody feel included. You'd go on a trip with David Childress and you see him all day. You have dinner with him. You hang out with him, and stuff.
He's been doing this for, 25 years?
Oh, my God. These tours, I think, at least for 25 or 30 years, maybe longer. But
okay.
I can't wait to travel with him again, and I highly recommend his trips to everyone.
Well, you let me know when he's got one, and we'll go together.
Hey, that would be cool. That would be a blast.
Now, I don't understand why more people haven't joined the wheel here, but there's always somebody at the end who says, where's the link? What am I supposed to do? So the link is the one that I've been putting up the whole time. And we're going to need 3 spins, Canadian Spider-Man, because we're going to give away 3 pint glasses for Into the Fringe. So go ahead and give us a spin. And then we can take that name off and give it another spin and take that name off.
Roger. All right. Here we go. at your command.
This always makes me feel nauseous because I feel like I'm watching The Exorcist when my head spins around. But go ahead, roll it. Radioactive.
There you go.
Fantastic. Congratulations.
Congratulations.
Right.
And of
We
course,
will-
all
congratulations, Radioactive is here all the time. Okay, so I'll remove Radioactive from the list, Cardinal Sin.
yeah, and all winners need to contact me at gil@sunflower.com. I'll need your mailing address and your real name, and then I will send those out to you. We have lots of congratulations for winning that one, and let's go ahead and do the next one.
Okay, ready to go. Ooh.
It's close.
Oh.
Hit cam.
Hit cam.
Hey.
Congratulations. Fantastic. All right, and I'll remove pit cam for the third spin, Cardinal.
Yep.
All right, there you go. Ooh,
As
get a 33 and a
Modoc,
third chance of winning.
as Modoc observes. Spin the wheel.
There you go. Ooh, so close.
Nicholas Horton.
Hey.
Congratulations.
Nice. Yep. Fantastic.
So, as I said, just send me an email with your real name and your mailing address, gil@sunflower.com, and I will get those out to you. Now, one thing that you guys need to know is that the merch, as it were, tends to come from China, and it depends on how many days there are left in their current print run. So it could be there in a week, it could be there in a month. So give me at least a month before you start sending me emails about, well, what happened to my pint glass? You know.
Yeah, they need to drink beer immediately.
That's right.
From a Cardinal Sin. Oh, this is a nice shirt.
A very fetching shirt,
right.
I must say.
Mm-hmm.
Cool.
And those are only available to mods, of course.
That is fantastic. And I'll get you the back.
I love that.
Cool.
I just think that's the coolest.
It sure is. Yep, absolutely. Walter, again, thanks for being here and taking your time.
Sure. Hey, please. Thanks for having me. I always enjoy coming
Your
here.
favorite.
Oh, yeah, you are a fan favorite for sure.
Unless you need anything else for me, Cardinal Sin, I'll duck out.
Now, Canadian Spider-Man, are you back in Canada or are you still in Mexico?
No, that was a typo. I meant we need more people like that Coco lady. Her, we need her, and I typed here. No, I am in Mexico until it's warmer in Canada, which could be weeks, months.
There you
So I
go.
run out of money.
So how did this all go down with your job? Are you in between jobs, or have you been saving up that much vacation?
I have a serial history of quitting jobs to go on adventures. And
Hey, that's the way to live.
you know, if you're a hard worker and you're not an idiot, there's always work available. You know,
That's right.
as long as you're not an asshole publicly. Yeah.
Awesome.
And again, Walter, I have so many questions. Empire of the Wheel, like why is it named that? You know, millions of questions. If you have
Sure, by all means. Why is it called Empire of the Wheel?
Oh, the Inland Empire of Southern California is essentially the greater San Bernardino Valley, Riverside, and such. And the wheel refers to Hecate, so thus Empire of the Wheel. There we go. It's that
Of
simple.
course, Hecate always is pictured with a wheel at her foot, right?
That's yes, indeed.
At her left foot?
Or just at her feet. It doesn't matter which side.
Mm-hmm.
That's okay. That answers one question I've had for quite a while now. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Do
Sure.
you have another?
I'll let you get back.
This is a great time to ask another one.
Yeah. That's has your over your career in doing this, how drastically has your perception changed of the eternal question, is there alien life visiting the planet?
I kind of said that earlier. Yeah, of course there is. I think. I think they've been here long ago. I think they still come here, but I think they're very discreet about it. I think one of the little secrets of all this that they hold from us is that I think there are humans exactly like us. That started on other planets. This idea that there's not humans exactly like us anywhere, else because they didn't, emerge on Earth is ignorant, ridiculous, and stupid. Because until scientists, biologists can literally say they've been to every habitable planet and found no human beings exactly like us, only then can they say something so ignorant as, there's no humans like us anywhere else. Come on.
The Drake equation comes down to where is everybody?
I think there's human beings just like us that have come and gone here, and they still do. And think about it. Think how easy it is for them to, all the dummies here going, let's look for the grays, let's look for the green men, let's look for the weird things. And meanwhile, the ET humans are standing next to them going, yeah, those grays, those green men, because
Right.
they can move among us. And yet nobody, it's not as fun. It's not as sexy.
It's not as, outrageous.
Yeah. And the people who are lying about their encounters, they don't want first of all, they don't want to lose the attention and the spotlight, number one. And number two, none of these people ever want to admit that they're lying.
Exactly. Yeah, that would be a problem, especially those who might have used a story like this to cover up a crime or an affair of something that they don't want to come public. I mean,
I like that. There you go. You think like a detective.
Yeah. I have theories about Jesus and Mary too, but
we'll have to get to that next time, definitely, because that's an interesting conversation.
Yeah,
Cool.
I've had several people on Into the Fringe back when I started the show. That were just other YouTubers that had paranormal experiences or UFO sightings, like the guys at Echo Base Network. You can find them on the playlist for Into the Fringe, and they're both, I don't know if I would call them fundamentalist Christians, but they're certainly the churchianity type.
Yeah.
yes,
And
in a good way. Yeah.
they had some really, really strange experiences with black-eyed children and what do they call that? Shadow people, and they just chalked it all up to being demons. And while I respect their point of view, I think that it just goes more in depth than that.
It's more complex.
It's a lot more. Yeah, we're working on many levels here, as Ken Kesey would say. So, all right. Well, Canadian Spider-Man, thanks very much for helping us with the wheel, and of course, thanks to Jill.
More than happy. Yeah, Jill did the wheel. I'm just the pretty face. So, and the merchandise rack.
I appreciate all your help. Michael Woods McCausland says Fringe was a wonderful DARPA show. He must be talking about the Fox TV series, which I adored personally.
Yeah.
And he also says the congregations are reforming.
Ooh.
I don't know what that means.
Let you go, Carlson. I'll let you go, Walter. Again, good to have you on here.
Oh, thanks for having me on. I always like being here.
Thanks, CSM.
You're well received every time. Yeah, thanks a lot, Carlson.
And be in touch. All right. Well, that's going to do it for today's broadcast. Again, all the winners, please email me your info at gil@sunflower.com, and we'll get you out some spiffy, nifty pint glasses that say Into the Fringe on them. And I would like to thank Gigi Abby Lynn, who says, thanks, Cardinal and Walter. Awesome show. And for that, we have this for you.
Hi, this is Steve Bassett of Paradigm Research Group, and I've been Into the Fringe with Gil Battle. Come join us.
Cool.
And I hope that worked out because I couldn't hear it. But Old Gaffer's here, and Gunstar 1 says, I'm a very skeptical person, but I tend to spend a lot of time on the Oregon coast, and the number of people who claim Bigfoot sightings is off the chain. Even I can't deny something's going on. What do you think about Bigfoot, Walter?
Bigfoot is one of those things that doesn't really fascinate me. I have no problem with the idea that, he exists. But we say he a lot of times, that it exists. But it's just never, and I don't mean this to be a snarky comment, but I just don't get the fascination personally. So it's never really been, a thing for me. It's like, oh yeah, cool. I think Bigfoot's real. I think the Yeti is real too, but it just never really grabbed me.
Yeah. I hear you. Okay. Well, that's going to wrap it up for today. Thanks to the mods in the chat, and of course to our guest Walter Bosley, the one
Thank
and
you
only.
Guys.
And we will catch you guys later. It's Cardinal Sin out.